Do you or your team ever feel stuck when it comes to interviewing potential leaders for your organization? Well, this week we're going to share a new insight and a new process that simplifies how you interview and select only the best of the best, those A players for leadership roles. So let's go ahead and get things started with Mark Tinas. Hey Mark, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. I am excited about this conversation. You know,
I'm sorry though about the Chiefs 0-2.
Oh, I know. Oh my God, we are so crushed here in KC.
And they wouldn't let you teach them Gapology. I started to get it. They need to rethink that.
Yeah, maybe we need to make another proposal.
Yeah.
After this 0-2 start is pretty rough here. Lots of gaps for sure. But on that topic, when you share that you wanted to talk about Big Red tonight, and we haven't really talked about this at all, and Big Red is not part of what we've put in the book.
We didn't write about it.
Right. So I'm excited. Here in Kansas City, Big Red, everyone knows Big Red. That is Andy Reid. We love Big Red, and I'm super excited that you want to talk about him.
Yeah, no, it's not about him.
What?
So
come on.
And I know you know that.
Yeah, I know that. All right.
Well, let me jump in.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Big Red tonight. So yeah, Mark, why don't you kick it off here?
So leaders, you have not heard of this. So if you can take notes, please quickly grab whatever you need. It's not in Gapology, but it's from Gapology. So we have found an interview process for determining who's an A player. And from Gapology, you would know that the A players are the top 10%. So we've developed and observed and learned from others who were making it happen, an interview process that identifies A players at the executive level. So if you need someone who is a high-level operator, who drives execution and results, and who develops their team, we've developed a simple, under an hour interview process to determine if they're an A player. It's pretty much foolproof. We've used it many times now over, and it works. And our top performers came through it with flying colors. We score the Big Red, which is RED, and I'll give you that in a minute, 1 to 5. So a 5 is outstanding. A 4 is they're advanced. A 3 is they have potential there. A 2 is developing, and a 1 is that they're deficient. And we score the R, E, and D 1 through 5. And we only recommend hiring the 4s and 5s. They've got to get a 4 and 5 on all of them if you're looking for truly an A player from the beginning. If you're willing to compromise a bit, they could have a 3 somewhere. But this really works. And for those of you that are taking notes, you need to write this down. The red, the R, is results driven. The E is execution driven. And the D is development driven. And we have found that all, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, all of the top 10%, the A players that we talked about in Gapology, are results driven, execution driven, and development driven. They conquer all 3 of them. So why we did this interview is under an hour. So under 1 hour, whether it's a panel or not, you can conduct an interview and determine if someone is going to be an A player. And that is huge. It's a significant saver of your time, and it really, it works. So we've used it over and over again, and we've seen others use it, and it works. So sorry to take so long, Brian. That's the Big Red.
Yeah. No, that's a great setup. What I would say there is one of the things I've noticed over the years is that oftentimes leaders do not prepare for interviews. When you're conducting an interview and you have a candidate that's really spent a lot of time researching the company, preparing themselves, they dress really nice, they do all the things, and they come in, they sit down, they devote all this time and energy into learning about the company, learning about the role and so forth. And as leaders, if we don't respect that by doing our own due diligence and preparing and being ready for that interview, it sort of is a disservice to the candidate. It's not really respecting them. And I think that's a big opportunity that leaders have. So devoting some time up front to understand what are those key things that you want to know. So spending time reviewing the resume, looking at their accomplishments, looking at their application, looking at the things that they're proud of, doing that ahead of time, and then preparing your questions accordingly, I think is really the minimum things that we should expect as leaders.
Yeah. So again, to repeat myself, the Big Red is looking for a leader, a leader of a team that drives results, that gets things done, and tackling projects or whatever, and then develops the team, often developing their own replacement in short periods of time, which in a growth organization is huge because it allows you to grow. This really works, and it can be done in 1 hour or less. You can do it as a panel if you assign the red and train them a bit in advance, and it can be done as an individual if that's what it is. So all I can tell you is it works. The people that I have hired under the Big Red that got 4s and 5s on each of the RED are top performers, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right, I want to walk them through this then.
Okay, yeah, let's go through it.
All right, so here's how the 1 hour comes about. So you, again, whether panel or individual, you start the interview by having the candidate walk you through, their resume and their any significant accomplishments that they want to speak to. You sort of open it up to them. The other thing that you want to ask them, and this is again, the introduction, is why are you interested in joining our organization? So it becomes quite interesting to hear that answer combined with, their resume review. So you've set the stage now. You're literally only 5 minutes into the interview, and you're now on R. Can I go after the R?
Yeah.
So
I think that's perfect.
Go ahead. Yeah. So if you're doing notes, the R again is results driven. So we are looking for an incredible leader of results. So this is how you find out very quickly if they're a results leader. So I like to go with the first question. So I say, tell me about the metrics, the KPIs, whatever you call them, and the expectations that you're accountable for and how you're performing. So if they don't know the answer to that question, they are not an A player. What do you think, Brian?
Oh yeah. So and I love the flow of this. So the results are the indicator of everything else. So the R is really the indicator of whether the E and the D is even in place. So I think starting there is really the key piece.
Yeah, and if they do not know the metrics that they're held accountable for, and They can't speak to it,
yep.
And the interview is sort of over, and that's how you have to deal with that process, mm-hmm. because you've discounted them rather significantly at that point. You have to figure out your own way out of that. I then go to how are you performing against those metrics? Walk me through it. I then go to tell me about recognition you've received in the last 30 days and any awards you've received in the last year. So I'm looking for the regional manager of the year, last year and the year before, right, Brian?
Right.
And they'll talk about it. But if there's no awards and they haven't been able to speak to recognition, and if they don't know their metrics and what the expectation is, they are a great candidate for Gapology. So Brian calls them up and we teach the whole organization Gapology because they are lacking significantly and will never perform at the level that they need to. But the R really does, by going first. Any other questions? Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you, and the interview can be ended. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. That is that indicator. Do they do their analysis? Are they aware of their impact? Highly competitive people, they know their scorecard. They know what their results are, the things that they're winning in. And I think along with that, there comes those two pieces. So what are they winning in and what are they not winning in? Winning leaders, A players, they know these things.
Yeah.
It is one of those traits that you can really look at. And they know that the things that they're winning in because they're proud of them. So when you ask them, hey, how have you been recognized and what awards have you won? That's that source of pride that people love to talk about. And if they don't have that, that's a big indicator.
If they don't have that, they're likely not an A player.
Yep.
They're not. If they're doing well in the R, we then go on to tell us about your team. Who's the top performer? And have you ever terminated a bottom performer? Tell us about that termination. Because we have found that the A players elevate their team and they do not tolerate those that don't perform. So the R really does, if you're an organization that needs results, the R interview tells you everything, and you don't need to waste the next 2 hours or however you interview because you already know an incredible amount about the candidate that you're interviewing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the R, Brian.
Yep. Okay. That sounds good. So next is E.
Yeah, so the E is execution. So we need operators to get things done. So the lead question is, what's the biggest project you've been in charge of? And how did it go? And you just listen to that answer. So an A player is given projects. They're given things to execute. And their ability to speak to how they went after that is huge. And again, scoring on a scale of 1 to 5, you're looking for somebody that's a 4 or 5 here in most organizations, because they are going to have to get significant rollouts of processes and new execution things completed. And this one's big. The other thing we like to throw in here is, what is your weekly rhythm? Walk us through how you structure your week. This one's very telling. Do they hold their team accountable? Do they have team one-on-ones? Do they track the action items of the team through the week? Brian and I like to look at the year as 52 separate weeks. We win all 52 weeks. We win, well, let the Chiefs know that, by the way, Brian. That's Andy Reid may not be aware now of that, but anyhow, sorry. So how they structure their week is significant to us. And we have found that leaders that structure their week with a rhythm, a repeating rhythm to achieve results, to achieve all of the action items that need to be accomplished, which create the results, by the way, is significant. So that's the E. What do you think?
Yeah, I think rhythm is incredibly important. And we've talked about leadership rhythm many times on this channel here. But I think having a viewpoint that process matters, structure matters, cadence, rhythm, all that stuff really matters as far as how it impacts your overall results, that's a winning leader trait. Not everybody thinks about that. Most people sort of react to outside influences, situations, problems. They react, and they're not intentional about being proactive and going after it.
Every A player that Brian and I have ever known or interacted with or interviewed had a rhythm to their week, had a structure to their week, and were winning as a result of that. It changes everything. It changes the team behavior. So if they're a leader of 20 people, their rhythm carries through the 20. It carries through the 20. If there's no rhythm, that carries through the 20, and they can all underperform. So this is somewhat underestimated, but significant. So we now have the R and we have the E. So how they score 1 to 5. If they do not have execution capability, they're out. However, if they've got the results, they probably do have the E. The R creates the E. Let's put it that way. Or the E creates the R. They go hand in hand. So most commonly, we're at a 4 or 5 on the top performers on the R and the E. And after the E, we understand the R better. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. One thing that occurred to me as you were saying that is when you look at your team, your existing team, I think is probably a good way, or I guess even in an interview situation, if they're getting the R, but the E really isn't in place, I would challenge the thinking around what's the potential for burnout down the road? What's the potential for stress down the road? If they don't have a regular rhythm, regular cadence process for things, but they're just really working really hard and getting the results, how long can that really last for? I think that's sort of an indicator of burnout.
No, that's a good point. The other thing that occurs to me there is if they were stronger in the E, the R would go much higher. If you were to develop this person in the E, the R would soar.
Right.
So you might have latched onto something, maybe from an internal interview. The Big Red works internally and externally. Again, I've sort of mentioned it as an external process. It can work internally. So you're looking to promote somebody. It is awesome to ask somebody on your team, what results are you accountable for?
Yeah.
As a reflection of you.
Yeah, it's such a good tool.
If they don't know the answer, that's your score.
Right.
But
yeah.
Either way.
True.
To Brian's point, the R and the E go together. And if you can find somebody who can be developed in the E, the R will soar. That makes sense?
Yeah, totally. As I was reading through it, and I'm a learning and development guy, right? So that's my background. And I'm reading through this, I'm thinking, this is a great developmental tool as well. So as you're growing your team, as you're building their skills, looking at what are these different elements and how are they excelling at it, or are they struggling?
Oh, that's a great point. So we know of an organization that interviews their team every year. So they come into an interview and they get interviewed on this stuff. And it's so telling. What it does is it really points to gaps in leadership above them, potentially, but it points to the things that can be done to help them grow. And it is of great significance. So if you have people on your team that can nail the R, not nail that E, then they can go much higher, much higher.
Right.
Brian and I have found, write this down, this is huge. We've said it a few times, but it's big. We have found often that the biggest upside is not in the C players, the bottom, it's in the A players. The A players have upside that's unrealized. And most of it, Brian, correct me, is in the E. If they simply could be developed in the E, they would literally outperform where they're already number one.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you look at the people who have variable R's. So they really win maybe for a month or two, and then they sort of
Yeah.
struggle for a month or two, and then they excel. Oftentimes that E is really the cause of that. I think
Yeah.
mindset falls in there too. I think there's some other elements, but that execution is such an important piece
Yeah.
that if you can help them just with that, developing that rhythm, they can really win consistently.
So the D is development driven. And our favorite question here is, tell me about someone whose life you've changed through
Yeah.
development.
Yeah.
Tell me about them. Yeah, what's their name? Walk me through the whole process. What did you do? This is an incredible question in an interview. Those that can speak to a specific person and talk about their development, and when you find out they're still in contact, they know where they work, they're engaged with them. Get their name and number, by the way,
Yeah.
because you often will want to recruit them.
Right.
But this tells you everything about D. And you then go into how did you develop them? What'd you do? What did that look like? And that is huge. But then you flip it around and you say, okay, what are you doing to develop yourself? Tell us about your development. And this is huge. Seriously. Um, if they're not developing themselves, they have limited potential. If they're able to speak quite a bit about this and talk about things they're doing specifically, maybe it's physical development, personal development, behavioral development, reading books, etc. I ask them, what's the most recent book you've read? If they don't say Gapology, we just walk out of the room.
Right. That's
But it their own development has to be significant to them. So again, the A players are driving results. They know what the metrics are. They drive them hard and they're driving them through their team. They're driving execution, that they monitor the action items that must be completed this week. They know the dates. They know what needs to be done. They're developing their team and they're developing themselves. Those A players are always in the top 10% of performance. So if you simply interview to the big red, you are going to find those people. Trust me, I don't know that I've ever missed on someone that nailed all of that and they weren't a top performer. I don't know of a single example of that. And it can change your organization. It can cause you to get promoted because you get a bunch of these people and they're lining up for promotion, which causes the organization to grow. But if you're in an organization that depends on operations, that depends on getting great results and has growth potential, the big red is a simple interview process that, again, you can complete in under 1 hour. And it identifies whether someone fits in that role or not. And I wouldn't be willing to compromise depending on the role, on what you need. It simply works.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would tell you, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah. So two pieces here. One, I want to just kind of mention something. So when you're looking at the development piece, I think it's important that they understand what areas they need developing in.
Yeah.
So if they're just reading books just to read books, so what? But if they're reading books to gain some sort of information, some sort of inspiration, whatever it is, if they're intentional about it, if they've identified, hey, I'm struggling in this area, here's a book that might help me. So they're intentional about it. Along with it, what are their strengths, the things that they're really proud of, things that they're sort of leveraging in their in their growth overall. So are they aware of that? It's sort of that self-awareness. And I think it goes back to our teaching organization pyramid that we talk about in Gapology, where the very bottom of that pyramid is teaching as a value. So do they value teaching? Do they value development and growth? I think that's a trait that we really need to look for in leaders.
Yeah, no, well said. Well said. We definitely have seen that the top 10%, the A players, the leaders, are all teachers. They view their role as teaching. They view their role as developing their team. And sometimes developing themselves, sometimes missing that in order to develop the team. But that's the big red. So it's not included in Gapology. So we will add it in what are we going to do, the 25th anniversary?
Oh, geez.
So have you started that yet?
No.
Oh, I guess I got to do that.
In fact, we're just emailing with
working on it. What do we got coming out?
So we're just emailing with our publisher today. Final review of the files. Everything got uploaded and everything. So the 15th anniversary edition, we should be able to release sometime in October. We're shooting for the 15th. So everybody sort of put a pin on the calendar there around October 15th to order the new version. Updated, some new insights in there, additional content.
300 pages.
Yeah, I don't remember the total page count, but it's
we'll
quite
have
a
to
bit
figure
more.
out the Audible scenario.
Yeah,
we'll get to that down the road when Brian.
That's the next big challenge. But we're always working on our own learning and our own growth as well on this stuff. But Big Red, I think that's a wonderful topic that could go into the 25th anniversary edition. If we make it
works far. And it makes interviews fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing I found is the people that are included in the panel that I've brought in, they learn so much and they become great interviewers. Mm-hmm. And they may not have been before. So the Big Red works, period. It's a development tool. Think about that.
Yeah.
For the people that are part of it.
Yeah.
Not just the candidate.
Right.
It's a development tool.
Yeah, it sort of aligns their, how they're viewing candidates. And I will say, so when you're measuring candidates, and this is sort of important, anytime you're measuring candidates, it's always important to measure them against the expectations, against their job description, against those black and white things versus measuring them against each other. Because if you only measure them against each other, you may just hire the best of the worst. So always look at, what do you want? What are your expectations? What are the requirements of the job? Define those things first. And when you're using the 1 to 5 measurement and you're comparing, look at who best fits those qualifications.
I got to add one other thing there. So with an organization we work with, initially when we met with them, the expectation was 90%. I won't give what the metric measures. And we found that through this process, they were achieving 95. So we changed it to 95. We then found that the top performers were 97. Mm-hmm. So we changed it to 97. So 90 is now 97. And the difference between 90 and 97 is the Grand Canyon.
Right. Definitely.
So this will help you move the team forward and the people you bring to the team dramatically forward. So thanks, everybody. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. No, this was a great one, Mark.
We've never shared this.
No, brand new content. Look at this.
We've never shared this. Yeah, so sorry about that. We just hadn't got to it.
I know. Yeah. We don't want to call up our publisher and say, hey, we want to add one more chapter.
We'll get it in the next one, though.
We will. But thanks for this, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right, that'll do it from here. For more information on Gapology, head on over to our website, gapology.org. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.